Welcome to Sushi Bites. Metal Slug. This is a 3D reimagining of the Metal Slug gameplay, and story-wise, if you can even be bothered to follow the story of Metal Slug, takes place between the first and second game. It was originally intended to be released outside of Japan. The game dialogue is entirely in English, so it was pretty much ready to be released. It was planned for a European release, but was cancelled. Wise decision? We'll find out. When you're using the name Metal Slug, you've got a really difficult game to follow up from, because the Metal Slug series is known for its hard difficulty, fast gameplay, and arcade fun. It's a side-scrolling shooter. It's very difficult to take that and transport it into 3D. The one thing I find myself asking is, why would you even try? Past experience, the transformation from 2D to 3D doesn't always work out well, Bubsy 3D. So, you're taking a big risk, and I don't think with the 2006 Metal Slug, let's just call it Metal Slug 3D, I don't think it was a wise decision to try this. Now, I am really conflicted about Metal Slug 3D. In terms of general gameplay, the controls are hideous. You don't even have the ability to freely aim unless it's a weapon that supports free aim. And then the controls are reversed. Left and right, up and down are reversed, so it's really difficult to aim a weapon. You can change that back in the options, but still the sensitivity on the aiming is really low. In a game where enemies are coming at you left, right and centre, you need to be able to aim quickly, but in this you can't. And the way you switch between weapons is really difficult. You've got a D-pad there. Use the D-pad. Why would you make it so complicated in the middle of combat? Okay, there are some things that are good about this game that I want to say. I mean, visually, they've done a really good job transporting the Metal Slug style from 2D to 3D. I think the character models look excellent. I think the enemies look good. I think the environments especially look really, really good. And the music, it's all original, but it all sounds like it comes from a Metal Slug game. It all sounds authentic. And speaking of authentic, the enemy groans, the firing sound effects, the explosion sound effects, all the sound effects are very authentic. They come straight from the original Metal Slug. I mentioned before that the voice acting was entirely in English. It's not great voice acting. Some parts of it really lackluster, really shoddy.
Hey, respond! Hey! Oh, nuts! Just what's going on?
What happened to Amy and Harry?
In the middle of eating, for crying out loud. That explosion scared me senseless, my meal went flying, and the dining hall lady.
Okay, I get the picture. Do we have any other backup?
So the general gameplay is as follows. You go around through each level, running and jumping and shooting enemies, picking up different weapon types, using those weapons, killing enemies, vice versa until you get to the boss enemy or conflict at the end of the stage, and you take that on and you're done. Basically, that's the general flow of the game. Each level is split up into checkpoints, so you can restart from a checkpoint if you die, but on normal difficulty or higher, you restart with the same amount of life you had when you get to the checkpoint. So if you don't play a level perfectly, you're going to be stuck on the boss checkpoint with one hit point over and over and over again. Some people might say that's done for the case of difficulty, It's like Metal Slug, it's really trying to maintain that level of difficulty that the series is known for. But at the same time, yeah, that would be fine if the controls weren't such a hassle to work with as well. I mean, the controls already make the game more difficult than the original Metal Slug ever was, but at least the original Metal Slug, the difficulty was down to how well you were playing. The game wasn't to blame. In Metal Slug 3D, because of these controls, the game is to blame. And the titular vehicle, the Metal Slug, is absolutely dreadful to steer and control, and it doesn't even take the same kind of hits, the same kind of damage that the Metal Slug can in the arcade classic. You can upgrade your Slug and put new attachments on it and make it stronger. You have to collect a lot of materials first, which means grinding through levels over and over and over again. And quite frankly, your Metal Slug doesn't really get any better even after you've upgraded it fully. It still doesn't take that many hits, it still doesn't do that much damage, and the cannon on it is still really difficult to aim. Not to mention that, again, the free aiming is completely off on the Metal Slug. You can't even aim freely with it. Like I said, I'm conflicted. I want to like this game, and there are some things about it I really do like the level design and how fun it is just to wail on enemies with lots of power-ups. But for the most part, it's repetitive, but not in a good way, because you're constantly fighting the bad controls at the same time. Ultimately, you know, this is meant to be a 3D Metal Slug, but even the gameplay isn't very Metal Slug-like. Although you're going around killing enemies, and that is, you know, ultimately what Metal Slug is about, there are none of the branching paths introduced in Metal Slug 3. There are no different character states, like becoming a zombie or becoming fat after eating too much food. There's nothing like that. And because the game is set between the first and the second, the Mars people haven't been introduced. So you don't even get to see the Mars people, who are by far my favourite part of the Metal Slug series. So as much as I want to like this game, I have to be honest. I'm kind of glad that Metal Slug 3D didn't get the European release that was intended. Because to be perfectly honest with you, it hasn't enriched my life in any way playing it. It's such an annoying game because of the control. It seriously is that one thing letting it down. So Metal Slug 3D, I want to like it, but I can't like it. So I can't recommend it to you. I mean, it's cool, and some of what it does is pretty awesome. The Metal Slug name is a hard thing to follow up, especially if you're not making another game in that style but branching out. I commend SNK for what they tried to achieve here, but I think we can all say pretty securely that where SNK's ability lies is in 2D games. 3D is just not their forte. I'll see you on the next Sushi Bites, if we live that long.